Hi, Maria Mandarino here today, and I am going to be talking to you about Enneagram Type 9 in the context of the venerable monks that are walking for peace, their pilgrimage. We're going to look at this as the pilgrimage of the Enneagram Type 9 as we walk through peace as the Enneagram Type 9. So before we jump into that today, I want to ask you to, if you haven't already, and if this content resonates with you, if you find it helpful, um, please like the episode, comment, subscribe, share, all of that. It's only through your efforts that what I do here makes any difference. So please help me get this information out to people if you find it useful. So again, today we are going to be looking at Enneagram Type 9, the peacemaker, also known as the mediator. Um, and Enneagram Type 9s like harmony. And they dislike confrontation because it feels it takes them out of a harmonious energy. And they have a tendency to evaporate by wanting to serve the needs of others, wanting to make everybody else happy, because if everybody else is happy, that means there's peace. And often that means it's not so peaceful for the nine. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But the nines that I work with, a phrase that I'll hear from them is they just want to make nice. They want to make everything nice. So that's why they will try to avoid confrontational situations or things that make them uncomfortable. So it's important for them to cultivate an energy that allows them to nourish themselves and honor their own needs, because usually in wanting to make everybody else happy, their needs are pushed back and suppressed, and without honoring their needs, as with anyone, when their needs are not honored, a resentment builds, and this is really common in the Enneagram 9. So, as I go along, I'm going to talk about the higher and lower expression of the 9 a little bit in this context. And I just want to point out my background is not only in the Enneagram, I'm certified in the narrative tradition. I'm also a spiritual director, I'm also a professional astrologer, and I'm also a licensed acupuncturist. So much of my languaging that I use and everything that I do, not just the Enneagram, my languaging is usually going to be centered around Taoist concepts. So if you struggle with that, some people have put those thoughts out there. I might not be the person that you resonate with, and that's fine. There are plenty of other traditional people, really good traditional people out there. So go follow them. It's okay. I'm not offended. But if you want to, work with somebody that takes a broader view of these ideas, that's what I do here. So the higher expression of Enneagram Type 9, we think of words like union and right action. Those are words we associate with the nine. Um, and when they're in the fullness of who they are, within the Enneagram, they're engaged people. They're very magnetic to be around. Talking to a nine is always an engaged kind of conversation. They're present, they're intentional. I think that's one of my favorite words that I'll use with a nine. They're very intentional. And they're very grounded. They're body types, right? So they're in their higher expression, very grounded, very intentional, present, and engaged. And the thing with them is that when they're engaging, you are as important to them as they are to themselves. Like they have that in balance, they have that in harmony about themselves, right? But in their lower expression, they kind of check out. We use the word sloth. It's a word that we associate with the nine. And they come away from situations feeling that they just don't matter, so why bother? Why even bother to try exert what's important to them, or inject that into the conversation? Why bother? They'll numb out. Again, they'll check out. We say in the Enneagram, they become self-forgetting. Um, and then as this devolves, they can become stubborn and sullen and silently angry. I say, in working with some nines who've gone through these struggles, I say they become peacefully violent, and they're kind of like shocked when I say that. But checking out is a form of quiet violence. They're very very tactful when they do it. Their violence does not look explosive. It can when they have given up themselves for so long that that resentment builds. Very rare. And when you see it in a nine, it's a big thing when they do explode. But typically it's this silent, sullen, stubborn, or they just kind of evaporate themselves out of the equation when they're in their lower expression. And they're suffering. So if you are a nine, or if you have a nine in your life, just work with that word suffering and what that really means means to a nine when they're suffering and they're checking out and they're in that sloth-like place, because it is suffering. It doesn't look like suffering to a lot of people, but it is suffering. So my question is, getting back to the venerable monks that are walking across the country for peace right now. So the nine can behave this way in the self-forgetting way, or they can walk, and they can walk with words that we embrace about the nine, right action, true peace, and sharing an awareness, their unique awareness of love and unity. And, in the tradition of the monks that are walking right now, we are at a very pivotal time in history, a very painful time in history, that I believe we will find our way out of and grow, but we're going to go through some growing pains before we get there. Um, so as we see some of the more tragic things happening in the country right now, we have juxtaposed to that, we have these monks who knows what Enneagram types they are, but I think they're walking in the spirit of the nine, right? So everyone's an individual. We can't really um, take a stand on what we think anybody's Enneagram type is, but as a group, they are walking in the steps of every nine that's working on themselves. So, as I said, we can take that higher expression of the nine. And as things get hard in life, when you're a nine or any type, you're going to go to your lower type. It's going to be very tempting to go to your lower type. So if you're a nine and you feel those feelings of sloth, of why bother, my feelings have no place. Everybody else has feelings right now. We have to honor their feelings. We have to make everybody else feel good, because otherwise there's just going to be more conflict. And we have enough conflict. So let me not get involved, right? So if you're going to that lower expression place, remember, you can walk, whether you're literally walking or just walking through life, in right action every moment of your day. You can walk in true peace every moment of your day, and you can share that awareness, that your distinct awareness that your type holds of love and unity. And if you ever need something to anchor it, just check out some of these pictures of these monks that are walking, because you have that in you as a nine. The nines have the easiest access to that. So I want to talk about what I call the Tai Chi in the Enneagram. Again, this is my Taoist background coming in. And you don't have to know Tai Chi or do Tai Chi to understand what I'm about to say. This applies to all types in the Enneagram. The Enneagram is not static. The Enneagram is not a label and your unique burden to take through life. The Enneagram is a dance. It has movement in it. We have wings. We have lines. We are never stuck in our type. Yes, there's the higher and the lower aspect of type, and you can spend a whole lot of time in your Enneagram growth work, just between those two things. But you also have your stress type and your security type, which are those lines across. So for the nine, the six is your stress type. The three is your security type. My personal awareness, and there are people that would take me to task on this. And again, if you're a purist, this isn't the channel you want. But I believe when I work with people that even if you're in your lower type, you have the opportunity to, through awareness and through working the Enneagram and understanding the Enneagram and applying it, and again, working with it, you can take the higher expression of your stress type as well as you can your own type or your security type. It's just going to be easier to go to the high side of your security type. It's going to be easier to go to the low side of your stress type, but awareness and working the Enneagram changes everything. So you have a choice. You always have a choice in the Enneagram. You're never stuck in your little bucket on the shelf. Okay. Don't let anybody suggest that you are. So the nine has that, through the nine itself, has that opportunity to seek peace and mediation without losing themselves in that equation. So holding the space for all, which includes yourself, right? For true unity, for true love. Um, the three, the performer. So again, this is going to be where you go, where it's going to be easier for you to go when you want to attain a goal. That's what we call it, the security type. It's where you feel secure enough to achieve something. And that's the three, the performer, the achiever. So what is it that you want to achieve in the name of peace and love and unity? How do you set your goals? That's something else the three does. They're goal driven. Not to have the light, put on you. That's the lower side of the three. Not for fame and fortune to be the one who discovered these goals or came up with these goals and reaching these goals, but for the purpose of all. How are you going to create these goals to achieve unity and peace, right? So again, that's going to be a little easier for you as a nine. Um, and then the six. So this is where we see the nine at the lower expression can dig in, become stubborn, become sullen because you're suspicious of everything. And it's that dark, kind of prickly side of the nine. But the other side of the six is the loyalist who shows up for the group. They're the ones that they're concerned with safety and security. They're the ones that keep the group safe. Okay, so you have that in you. It's going to be a little tougher. It's going to take more energy for you to cross that line as a nine, but you can go there through conscious work. And you can do that yourself, certainly. And it's the work that I do with people. So if that's something that you want to, a skill that you want to sharpen in your life, find somebody to work with. I'm not the only one. I'd love to work with you. But find someone to walk the journey with you. So in the Enneagram, we have the wings on either side of our type, right? So for the nine, we have the eight and we have the one, all right? And we're all going to have a tendency to tip in one direction over the other. It doesn't mean you can't look over the fence and say, yeah, that's my next door neighbor too. So again, this is the Tai Chi dance. This is where you can pull and make your type richer. Okay. So whether you lean toward eight, which is the protector, the challenger, the defender, the person who is driven by social justice, that may be in your Enneagram DNA, as I say. Or if you have a one wing where integrity, being structured, organized, principled, whichever skill set you bring. This is part of your Enneagram Type sheet. Okay. So that said, we all, each of the types is one of the faces of the divine. That's how we look at the Enneagram. Because we are not fully divine, we lead with one of those faces, but we have the other eight types in us somewhere in our makeup. It's just a question of how difficult it is to access that. So again, on this one, we're talking about the nine. But for the rest of us who don't lead with nine, and some of us might struggle to even identify nine behavior in ourselves, it doesn't mean it's not there to be had. So I want you to look at the nine energy, maybe look at a nine, excuse me, sorry. Um, Maybe look at a nine that you know, or a nine that's, perhaps someone famous that you want to emulate. Um, and see where you can pull a thread and weave it into your own Enneagram type. So, what can you learn from type nine's expression of divinity? What can you learn from the higher expression of the peacemaker who seeks love and unity? Um, and also can hold the space for their own needs and not just lose themselves to the collective, but be part of the collective at the same time. How can you learn from that through your Enneagram type? How can your Enneagram type, here's the thing, how can your Enneagram type, whether you're a nine or not, uniquely do peace? How can your Enneagram type extract something from the wisdom of the nine, draw it into your Enneagram type to do peace because we need you right now. We need all of you. We all need all 9 types suiting up for this game. And so I'd love it if you would drop a line in the comments and share how perhaps you think you can weave peace into the world, into your life through your Enneagram type, no matter what your type is, particularly if you're a type beyond the 9. Share with others how your type can do peace and does peace. How do you uniquely walk in peace? How do you uniquely walk for peace? Um, because peace isn't unique to the 9. It's just the 9 has a special gift that puts peace at the forefront for them. Doesn't mean we don't all do it. So again, it might take more effort for some types. So I'd like you to really reflect on that, and more than reflecting it, I really love it if you would drop that in the comments because so many people could stand to benefit from that unique perspective that each of you have. So please share that. And if you would like to work with me, been some structures to change in structure, I should say, to my online business. Finally went through the whole transition of what I've been trying to achieve here. So there is finally a new dedicated website to this work that I do here in spiritual direction with the Enneagram, with astrology, and other traditions as well. Those are the main ones. The Rooted Mystic, therootedmystic.com. You can sign up there. You can schedule with me there. There is a discovery call. It is a $25 fee attached to that discovery call. It's a half hour. And that fee does get attached to any session you select when you choose to work with me. So that will be applied. And what we do in that half hour is we sit down and talk about what your spiritual goals are, what you're trying to, how you're trying to evolve in your spiritual journey, and how I can help you, which road we take, whether it's spiritual direction, the Enneagram, or astrology. Sometimes it's weaving together a few of those. There are memberships available. I can talk to you about that as well during that call. So if that's something that sounds like something you'd like to do, sign up for that online. Again, therootedmystic.com will have all of this in the show notes at the end. I do have memberships available, as I mentioned, and that will be discussed on the call. Remember, I also have an Enneagram course out there that's on my website, Smart But Stuck for Yourself Through the Enneagram. There's several hours of content there available through the website. You can purchase that there. I also have a webinar on the website as well, so check that out. It's a webinar on boundaries and how to improve your relationships through setting boundaries through the Enneagram. So check that out. There's the webinar. If you'd like to support the channel in any other way, I do have a Ko-fi account where you can donate to support the channel and my work here, which helps me to invest in things that will make this channel more better able to offer you more things and more ways to grow here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your unique brand of peace to this world right now. Cultivate that, whether it's through the Enneagram or whatever spiritual practice you use. This world sure needs a good measure of peace. So walk forward, and I will see you here next time. Thanks so much for being here.